الحمد لله الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Last time we started discussing some of the metaphysics governing fasting. We started off talking about the fact that the Quran mentions two types of creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One that takes time, that is done gradually, that is done through some kind of process. We call it tadrijan, daraja bil daraja, goes step by step. And the example that we gave of this is خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ, when it mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. So over there we see that this creation of the heavens and the earth took 6 days. So this was something that was done tadrijan. And then number 2, as is mentioned near the end of Surah Yasin, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونُ, that there are certain things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says be, and it is. Therefore, those things are done instantaneously. Kun fayakun. Now, the question that may come up is, which one is it? Are things created instantaneously, or are they done gradually? And the answer was that there are actually two distinct spheres of creation. The created realm, alamul khalq, which is created gradually and through a process. For example, a seed turning into a tree, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years, right? So that's alamul khalq. And then there is alamul amr, which is the commanded realm. And this is kind of like the spiritual realm. For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to create a new soul, He simply says kun, be, and it is. And we discussed some of the things that belong to that realm as well, such as Quran, ibadah, the soul of a human being, etc. And then we mentioned that a human being is special in the fact that the human being has both components to them. Number one, there is a component of their body, which was created from the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in several places in the Quran. خَلَقَهُ مِن تُرَابٍ خَلَقَهُ مِن طِينٍ, etc. So this is from the created realm. And as you can see, the body of the human being goes through the gradual phases. For example, it starts off as a fetus. Then when it is born, it's an infant. Then it becomes a child, a kid. And then it becomes, a teenager, and then an adult, and then eventually an old person. And each one of those stages takes time, and it goes through that process. However, the soul of the human being, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي, the soul is from the commanded realm, as mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, the soul of the human being is from the other realm, the commanded realm. The human being is a combination of both spheres, and as a result, the human being has the qualities of both these realms. So for example, the body has animalistic qualities. It wants to do the same things as animals do. They eat, they drink, they sleep, they procreate. That's pretty much all what animals do. And the body of the human being wants to do exactly the same thing, and it doesn't really care how it gets it. It doesn't care about the rulings, it doesn't care about ethics, it doesn't care about morality. It just cares about getting what it wants. On the other hand, the soul of the human being, which is from the commanded realm, has angelic qualities. So angels, as you know, do not eat, they do not sleep, they do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they belong to that spiritual realm. And the human being soul also wants to do the same thing. It wants to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't want to eat, it doesn't want to drink, and it doesn't want to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these two are kind of diametrically opposed to each other, and they're basically fighting for dominance over the person. So you will see various degrees of this. So for example, a person may have those animalistic qualities dominate over them. You will see that person will have trouble lowering their gaze. They will have trouble staying away from sins. They will have trouble waking up for Fajr. They will have trouble eating halal, etc. And then the person that manages to have his soul overcome and those angelic qualities, you will see that person inclining towards worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will see that person inclining towards dhikr. You'll see that person inclining towards the angelic qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed his soul. There's this constant tussle that's going on between the two. And then we started getting into the corollaries of this. Number one is that each sphere of creation is nourished by things from that sphere that it belongs to. For example, the body is nourished by things that belong to Alamul Khalq. It is sustained by things from Alamul Khalq. For example, all the food that we eat comes from the earth, either directly or indirectly. Directly through plants, etc., and indirectly through animals, which eat plants, so on and so forth. All the clothes that we wear come from the ground, either through hydrocarbons becoming polyester or nylon, etc., and or they are grown, such as cotton and even silkworms, etc. Number three thing that we discussed was the fact that most people misunderstand this, and as a result they feel like they can cure problems pertaining to the soul, which is from Alamul Amr, with things from Alamul Khalq. For example, they think that possessions, buying things, will make them happy, whereas happiness is a function of the soul, and the soul cannot be sustained, it cannot be nourished from things from the other realm. Therefore, a person cannot become happy by buying things. We see this, we know this, and the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the fact that the richest people in the world are often the most unhappy people in the world. You would think that if money could buy happiness, they would be the happiest people in the world. More so, once a person reached a certain amount of wealth, they would basically become content. But you see, they are even more and more greedy and chasing after wealth. It is as if they have not achieved what they wanted through that wealth, which is true. In fact, you will find that a lot of these celebrities and people that are looked up to in certain circles, they're busy literally blowing their brains out with a gun. They're committing suicide. Why? It's because their soul is not happy, in spite of all their riches and in spite of all the dunya that they can throw at it. So let's continue on with that discussion today. So deviation from the optimal equilibrium causes problems. There needs to be an equilibrium between the body and the soul. Right? Both have to coexist. It's not like you can get rid of one of them. So they have to exist in a healthy equilibrium. And when there's a deviation from this equilibrium, this causes problems. Most of the time, the deviation is in favor of the body. Most of us are busy eating too much, drinking too much, sleeping too much, talking too much, etc. So this is what one of the special features of Ramadan is, which is that it comes about to bring a restoration of this balance that should exist within a person. What happens? we suppress the body. We say, okay, you're going to eat less, and only during these fixed times. You are going to drink less, and only during these fixed times. You are going to sleep less. I am going to spend the night in Taraweeh. I am going to spend the night in Ibadah. And I am going to socialize less, etc., etc. So therefore, you're suppressing the body. And on the other hand, you are nourishing the soul. You're giving it more Quran. It's listening to Quran in Taraweeh Salah. You are reading more Quran. You are praying more, 20 extra rakahs, right? At least. You are fasting. You are essentially doing some of the things that the angels do, which is they do not eat, they do not drink. You are giving more sadaqah, hopefully. You are giving your zakat, hopefully. You are performing more dhikr, hopefully. So you're elevating the soul and you are suppressing the body. And this is what brings about that restoration of that balance that needs to exist in a healthy and happy human being. So this is one of the features of Ramadan. So this is why it was important for us to understand those metaphysics, to understand why does Ramadan do what it does to us. And this is something that I like to ask people, is for them to do a self-test. If you could take a picture of yourself, a spiritual picture of yourself, a before and after of Ramadan, before Ramadan and after Ramadan, right? Do you feel better before Ramadan began or after? Like on the day of Eid, if I were to just grab a hold of you and say, hey, can you tell me how you feel compared to before Ramadan? What would you say? Most people, I would guess, hazard to guess, would say that they feel better after Ramadan. Why? It's because that balance has become restored. They have restored that natural balance that needs to exist within a person. Now, if you were to tell a disbeliever this, a non-Muslim this, they would think that this doesn't make sense. You spent an entire month staying up, worshipping, putting yourself through all this toil and hard work, not eating for so many hours, not drinking for so many hours, sleeping less, and you're feeling better? It doesn't make sense to them, right? But they don't understand these metaphysics that go on and this natural balance that has to exist. We tell them, Alhamdulillah, we enjoy Ramadan. We look forward to Ramadan, and we actually come out better at the end of it, subhanAllah. Now, the quiz that I want to ask is, what am I doing if I eat, sleep, and drink too much in Ramadan? What am I doing? Essentially, I am suppressing the body in the day, elevating the soul, and at the end of the day, if at iftar time, I'm eating way too much, and I'm drinking way too much, and then afterwards I'm sleeping throughout the day, what am I doing? It's like a child took and wrote their homework with a pencil all day long, painstakingly, until his fingers hurt. And then at the end of the day, when it was time to turn it in, they erased it all with an eraser. They undid all the good work that they did. This is essentially what we're doing if we eat too much at iftar, if we sleep too much during the day, if we drink too much at iftar. And most of us are, unfortunately, myself included, doing this. We are erasing all the good work that we do throughout the day. And one of the tips that I would like to share for eating less and drinking less at iftar time especially, which is a time when the nafs of a person is essentially unleashed, right? And wants to just say, let me have it. Let me eat all the delicious food that's in front of me. Eat a little bit, and then pray your Maghrib Salah. Pray your Sunnah, etc. Make your adhkar, make your dua, and come back. And then ask yourself if you're still hungry. Most of the time, you will find that you are not very hungry anymore. And the reason for this is the fact that when we eat very fast, our body doesn't have enough time to tell the brain that we've eaten too much. The signal doesn't get there yet, right? So if we're busy eating very quickly, we won't have time to tell our brain that we've eaten too much. And then by the time we get the signal, it's already too late. So if you just take a little break, right, like the way it's designed to be, where you eat a date or two or three, and then you eat something else refreshing, healthy, hopefully. You go pray, and then you come back. By that time, your body has realized that alhamdulillah, it has some energy, it has what it needs, and then you may eat a little bit later. And then eating less until after Taraweeh also helps to stand in Taraweeh. If you've eaten too much, your body wants to go into a food coma, right? It wants to basically just collapse and try to digest all that food that you've stuffed inside it, and it's hard to stand for Taraweeh. So, once we've restored this balance, the question comes as to what are we going to do after Ramadan? Right? Imagine if your body was like a car and you now get into a car accident, the whole body is banged up. You take it to a car shop, they repair everything, they perform a lot of hard work, and then they produce a car at the end of the day that looks like it's new. And this is what we've done essentially. We banged up our body throughout the year, and then Ramadan comes and gives us a new body, right? A new body like from the car shop. And are we going to drive recklessly afterwards? Are we going to drive without a seatbelt on afterwards? No, right? There has to be a maintenance plan in order to maintain this balance now. And this is exactly what the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to do. And Aisha radiallahu anha كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصوم شعبان ورمضان ويتحرى الاثنين والخميس. That the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to fast Sha'ban and Ramadan, and he made sure to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. What is this fasting on Mondays and Thursdays? This is the maintenance plan to make sure that everything stays in balance throughout the year, right? If you could essentially quantify your spiritual level at the end of Ramadan, let's say it was a 5 out of 10. And then if throughout the year you messed it up back to 1, then maybe by the end of next Ramadan you could go back to 5. However, if you maintained it at least to a level of 4, then you could springboard on top of that and have a higher spiritual state at the end of the next Ramadan. Right, so it's important for us to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in this regard and in every regard, alhamdulillah. In the next hadith, عن جرير بن عبد الله عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال صيام 3 أيام من كل شهر صيام الدهر وأيام البيد صبيحة 13 و14 و15. Jarir ibn Abdullah reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, fasting 3 days of each month is fasting for a lifetime, Sawmud Dahr, Siyamud Dahr. And the shining days, the bright days, the white days of Ayyamul Bid are the 13th, 14th, and 15th. This shows that the Prophet ﷺ also used to fast on the 13th and 14th and 15th of the lunar calendar, right, of every month. These are known as the Ayyamul Bid. These are the bright days, the white days, the days in which the moon is the fullest. And why is it Siyamud Dahr? Because if you fast 3 days out of every month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the 10 times multiplier, right? فَلَهُ عَشْرُ أَمْثَالِهَا, as per the ayah. Therefore, it's as if we're getting the reward of fasting 30 days every single month. And as you know, each month can only be 29 or 30 days. So if you do this your whole life, your whole adult life, it's as if you fasted every single day of your life, at least in terms of the reward. Subhanallah. This is a very nice tip that the Prophet ﷺ gave to us. We should avail it. Another aspect of fasting that we should know is that it allows us to control our desires, right? In this hadith, يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباء فليتزوج فإنه أغض للبصر وأحصن للفرج ومن لم يستطع فعليه بالصوم فإنه له وجاء. O shabab, young men, those among you who can support a wife should marry, for it restrains eyes from casting evil glances and preserves one from immorality. For those who cannot, but those who cannot should devote themselves to fasting, for it is a means of controlling sexual desire. So for those of us that have difficulty controlling our gaze, or looking at things that we shouldn't look at, or eating too much or drinking too much. Fasting is essentially practicing that muscle that allows us to be able to control ourselves and also keep our body, our nafs in check so that it doesn't get out of control. Right? This is the prophetic prescription for controlling desires. So for the bachelors, the bachelorettes, the young people, in fact, even the adults, right, the old people as well, they have problems with these things as well. So this is a very good prescription for us in order to be able to do this. So this is a long hadith coming up next. Inshallah, we'll continue this next time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to fast as per the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May he allow us to take the full benefit of fasting and understand the metaphysics of it and to bring this into our lives. Please make sure you make dua for this fool and also for the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.